This game taught us a lot about the Spurs. Yes, the Spurs came out flat. Yes, the Lakers won. But look at Area 51, namely Victor Wembanyama dominating LeBron James and getting an insane block on Anthony Davis. There was a lot of positives to take away from this game despite the loss, and a lot that shows us what needs to be improved for the future. I'll be getting into all of that. Plus, we got a great Stephon Castle update outside the game and a really encouraging Jeremy Sochan note. So you'll want to stick around for all that coming up in this episode of Spurs Digest. But guys, I want to remind you, still 80% of you watching this video are not subscribed. We're aiming for 3,000 subscribers. We are not that many away, just a few hundred subscribers away. We'd love to hit 3,000 before Christmas. I know you guys can help us out, especially if you like the content you see here. We got it every single day. The subscribe button down below, it's completely free. Let's get into the video, and I'm actually not going to start with the game. Stick around if you want to talk about the game. I got some comments on that, but I want to start with some great news. No one likes losing to the Lakers, so let's get these spirits up. Tom Orsborn on Twitter, Mitch Johnson said Sochan could be ahead of schedule in his rehab from thumb surgery. Quote, he's done a great job. The medical team, performance staff has done a great job. He's been able to do some things in terms of running and staying in shape. Now, it is a thumb injury, right? Like, I'm sorry. Like, what is it? His foot thumb? I don't know. Anyway, I thought he could probably run anyway, but I'm not going to joke around about that. It's great to see that Sochan's almost ready to go. The Spurs have been kind of rolling even without him. They had a great little win streak there. Everyone is stepping up. The depth has been really, really good for the Spurs, and knowing or seeing what we saw from Jeremy Sochan earlier this season, the scoring that we didn't know how long it would take for that to come, or if it ever really would, just appeared almost out of nowhere. The dude has been slashing like crazy. He was scoring a lot of points early this season, but just playing that all-around role. Of course, he's always been absolutely stellar on the defensive end. He's improving his rebounding. He's improved at basically everything year over year, but especially the scoring numbers this year. So to see Vassell finally getting back in games, he played again tonight. We'll talk about that, of him coming off the bench. But to see that Sochan is almost ready to come back as well is a huge boost to this team, honestly, because Jeremy Sochan is, I think, a lot of our, like, well, just one of those guys you love to have on your team, hate if he's on the other team. But to have him back on this team, man, like, I'm just picturing even games like tonight, having a guy like Sochan out there. I know, well, tonight was more like it was a bit flat. The offense wasn't quite there, but Sochan's that kind of guy that can give you that spark in any given moment. His energy is off the charts always. So super excited for this update, and I know a lot of you guys are too. But I want to move on quickly to Stephon Castle. And yes, we'll talk about his game, but the big thing coming out of today, he is now officially second. He has passed Jalen Wells and now only trails Jared McCain on the Kia rookie ladder. And honestly, I know Jared McCain is averaging, like 18 points a game. Based on how Rookie of the Year voting often goes, it's probably Jared McCain's. If the voting ended today, McCain would definitely win. But the thing is, Stephon Castle's growth from just the start of the season to today has been absolutely ridiculous. And I got a little stat to back that up too. From Point Made Basketball, good follow on Twitter, by the way. Stephon Castle extends his 10-plus scoring streak to 11 games, with the Spurs going 7-4 over that span. Mind you, most of those were without Sochan, if not all of them. I actually don't remember at this point. But yeah, during his streak, I'm not calling him that. I'm calling him Stephon Castle. It's Castle. Anyway, whatever. You can call him Steph. It's kind of funny when you call him Steph, especially when you're playing against the Warriors. 15.5 points per game, 5.2 assists, 2.9 rebounds, 35% from three. His rate of growth has been amazing. The 35% from three is one of the biggest things to me, because that was one of the big concerns for him, if he could get that NBA level 3-point shot and be consistent with it. The fact that him as a rookie on a reasonable volume so far, the fact that he's been at 35% over this last 11 game stretch is really something special. It means that he's getting more and more comfortable. He himself has said the game has slowed down for him. We're seeing him have a ton of chemistry with all his teammates, like the Area 51, him and Wemby. He's able to get into the lane. And maybe even bigger than the three-point shooting is the fact that he's just not getting that NBA whistle yet. He's getting the rookie whistle. He's getting hammered, it feels like, every time he goes into the lane, and he's not getting rewarded for it. So the fact he's doing this while not getting a favorable whistle, while still being a rookie, is absolutely amazing. So, we see where he is now. But I genuinely think if the Spurs can continue their role, if the Sixers end up staying in near the bottom of the standings, like, I'm not convinced they'll finish like bottom 2 or 3 in the NBA or anything. They'll probably climb their way out of that hole eventually. They have too much talent not to do that, I think. But Stephon Castle, in terms of impact and in terms of his growth pattern so far, would not shock me. In fact, I'm calling it right now. He's going to be Rookie of the Year. I'm just saying, and I think a lot of you probably agree, but that was just an awesome note on him that I wanted to share with you guys. Time to get into the game. Look, no one wants to dwell on a loss, Actually, we'll get into that a bit after. No one wants to dwell on a loss, so I'm not going to focus on the bad parts of this game. But like, I think we learned a lot. And what we learned from the San Antonio Spurs tonight is that they still need to, well, I would say they need to learn how to play back-to-backs. It's not even learn how to play. It's just like, on a back-to-back game, you expect a team to be a bit gassed, but like most of these guys came out very flat. The whole team seemed to lack legs, especially Wemby on his 3-point shots. I mean, on his 2-point shots, he went 7 for 11, right? Including this amazing, can I play that from here? No, let me head back. Let me play that from here, including this amazing move on LeBron. So Wemby was really solid overall. Like, I don't know if it's just me, but it felt like he had a really, like, yeah, he had these big highlight crazy plays, but it felt to me that it was almost like a quiet 20 and 10 game. I'm like, oh wait, he came out with 20 and 10? You know, it was one of those games. I was expecting almost when I looked at the end to see one of those 14 and 7 games that he was having a bit earlier in the season, but came out with 20 and 10 with 3 blocks and 2 steals. For a bad game, that's about as good as it gets. So I wouldn't even say it was a bad game from Wemby, but he looked like he was tired. But so did a lot of the guys, right? And this is what I was mentioning when I was saying getting Sohan back could be such a big spark for this team. Is when you got guys on the bench like Keldon Johnson, like we know he is hot and he's cold. He's very streaky. When he's on, he is super fun to watch. When he's off, games like tonight, 22 minutes, 1 for 5 shooting, minus 21, just not working. I mean, even Vassell was a minus 22, though. I don't want to say that was really his fault. I thought he looked really good. 2 for 3 from 3, 5 for 10 from the field. The problem was when the Spurs bench unit was out there, when they had a lot of their bench guys on the floor, the Lakers role players were just hitting shots like crazy. But also the Lakers were getting a very favorable whistle. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to blame this game on the refs. This is the only thing I'm going to say about it. I'm just going to say this screenshot absolutely speaks for itself. But like the Spurs had some highlights. Wemby had that kind of a solid game. Julian Champagnie, again, I thought looked good, but it was that depth. Like Chris Paul shooting 1 for 6 is not great. Castle looked fine, not as good in the past few games. Again, looked a little more sluggish, but hard to really tell because, again, I thought he probably should have got to the line more than the 4 free throw attempts he had. But Harrison Barnes, man, he can't win with these cats. 19 points, player of the week, Western Conference player of the week, 5 for 6 from 3. This is the one guy that's being consistent, which is kind of funny because his whole thing was him being inconsistent in the NBA Finals back with the Warriors so long ago. It's crazy to say that was like almost 10 years ago now. Sorry to make everyone feel old. It makes myself feel old. But yeah, like I don't want to dive too much into this. It was a fun game to some extent, but to see the Lakers role players come out and dominate the Spurs like that kind of hurts. I mean, you know, you look at, I'm seeing some reactions here. I'd like to look at some of the fan reactions, and a lot of people just not happy with the Lakers. But the thing is, the role players had to play like all-stars to really come out and beat the Spurs in the way that they did. I thought the Spurs tried to hold their own, but they can't keep coming back from behind, right? Like, this is not going to work every single game. It's not going to be one of those long-term solutions, long-term ideas to just, come from behind, we'll figure it out after. They've been solid at it. They've been good, and Wemby can turn the tide of any game, and now with Vassell coming back, hopefully going to play most of, if not all, the rest of the season, with Sohan almost ready to come back, with Keldon Johnson maybe picking up the intensity a bit, being a bit more consistent. If Champagnie can stay good, Castle's growth pattern, even Chris Paul is effective almost every single night. So there's a lot of really good things here. And if the Lakers didn't do what they did tonight with the role players, I think this team could have been great. Also turnovers. The first half was turnover central, so I suppose that is kind of a big factor as well that a lot of you have probably been screaming since the start of this video. But I like to not focus on the negative. There's some good things, and I hope you guys are excited for the future. I am too. A loss is a loss. We move on. 73-9, baby. I'm ready for it, and I hope you are too. That'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're at this point in the video and you haven't hit the button yet, I'd really appreciate it if you did it right now. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.